In the garden, color is personal. It sets the mood for the space. Some gardens feel bright and cheerful, full of energy and happiness. Others are more soft and muted, creating a calm and peaceful retreat. Color in the garden doesn't just change how it looks, it changes how it feels. And this year I'm seeing 3 color trends pop up everywhere, in magazines, on social media, even in new plant introductions. So today we're going to talk about these trends and how you can use them in your garden this year. Hi, it's Steph, and let's jump into trend number 1, green drenched gardens. The green on green garden is having a real moment, and I totally see the appeal. It can be such a beautiful, soothing, and serene space, similar to what you feel when you go into a botanical garden. Typically, you see lots of different types of foliage, all in different shades of green, with lots of different texture plants as well. And all of that together creates a really calming and soothing environment. And the same goes for these green drenched gardens. The most common types of green drenched gardens that you see are typically shade gardens, woodland gardens, or even Japanese style gardens. Even beautiful English gardens have perfected this art of green gardens. Everything feels lush and layered, and not because it's filled with flowers, it's because they know how to build a really beautiful green foundation. The key to making this style work is going to be to layer different shades of green, different foliage, and different textures. Now, in your own gardens, if this was something that you were looking to dip your toes into, you could start off by dividing some of your own foliage plants. For example, hosta is a great candidate for division. They also come in so many beautiful different patterns and shades of green that you can add a lot of interest to a greenscaped garden just through use of hosta foliage. It could be a little bit of a problem if you deal with deer because they do like to eat hosta, but some other really pretty foliage options that you can utilize are things like brunnera, as well as pulmonaria or lungwort. These are all plants that take really well to dividing. And for different textures, finer textures, you can use plants like ferns. I personally absolutely love the Japanese painted fern because they have so many beautiful colors on the foliage, but there are so many wonderful ferns that you can use. Even a stilbe, which has a fern-like texture, is a beautiful plant to contrast with those bold, large leaves of things like hosta, brunnera, and pulmonaria. Even lambsare, which is a very vigorous plant, is super easy to divide, and you can add that amongst your green plants to provide even more texture and a little pop of brightness with that silvery foliage. Another option are grasses, and if you are working in a shady spot, hakonokloa or Japanese forest grass is a wonderful fine texture grass that has an arching habit, really pretty, that would be beautiful to add in contrast to these other plants. I have those in my garden, and I have 3 varieties of them, all different shades of green. The areola, which is a variegated green and yellow. I have the all gold, which leans more of a chartreuse yellow color. And I also have one that is a solid green. But there are also caryxes that you can use that also add a lot of texture. You can also add a pop of brightness to green drenched gardens by using variegated foliage that are green and white or green and yellow. So you can see that with use of layering different shades of green as well as different textured foliage in your perennials, you can really create a really gorgeous and dimensional layered green garden. The best part about this garden style is that it will work for anyone, whether you have a traditional or a modern aesthetic. This style is perfect for someone who wants low stress cohesion, especially in shadier spaces. Foliage forward gardens often need less deadheading, which can make them feel easier to maintain. In a busy and chaotic world, a green drenched garden can feel like a quiet refuge. It's rich, dimensional, and peaceful without ever feeling boring. Before we get to the next trend, I want to take a moment to thank today's sponsor, Pear Eyewear. I've never shared this before, but I wear eyeglasses for driving or watching TV. And recently I needed a new prescription. And whenever that happens, I need to get new eyeglasses as well as new prescription sunglasses. That's why I was excited to find Pear Eyewear. And my favorite part, I can turn my prescription glasses into sunglasses in a second just by adding my sun topper. Yes, you can get tinted prescription lenses, but honestly, they take forever to adjust once you go indoors. And I was never a fan of that. With this, I can pop the topper on or off instantly. I can also switch out different sunglass toppers for different looks, and they're compact, so they're easy to toss in a bag for vacation or a day out. You start with a classic base frame, and then you can snap on magnetic top frames to completely change the look in seconds. It's such a smart and fun idea. You can switch up your toppers depending on your mood, your outfit, or where you're headed. Base frames start at just $60, which is very reasonable, and you can try them risk-free with free US shipping and free returns. I used their virtual try-on tool to see how different styles would look on my face before ordering, which made it super easy. I chose the Murphy frames and picked a couple of fun fashion top frames to switch things up. They also offer blue light filtering, readers, progressives, and premium lenses for higher prescriptions, all made at their US Lens Lab. They're lightweight, comfortable, and make wearing glasses feel a little bit more personal. So click the link in my description box below to shop Pear Eyewear and use the code ROOTEDGIFT15 to get a free gift with purchase. And thank you to Pear Eyewear for sponsoring today's video. Garden color trend number 2 is a little bit bolder. Deep, rich jewel tones. Many gardeners are going to make the swap from soft, muted colors to deep, rich, saturated color in 2026. And I can definitely see the appeal to this. In the height of the summer, when it is really bright and sunny out, sometimes these light purples and light pink flowers can get washed out and barely noticeable. So if you start slowly swapping those out for more deep, saturated shades of those same colors, it can really make your garden pop a bit more. So some examples of this would be a cool color palette, which I personally am a fan of, purples and pinks. We can start there. Light pinks you could swap out for something like a magenta pink. This would be really easy with things like phlox. Garden phlox comes in so many beautiful shades of pink and different colors. Things like salvia in shades of purple. You could swap a lighter purple salvia for something like a violet or amethyst salvia. And when it comes to purples in the spring, I have lots of beautiful bearded iris in my garden, and there are so many gorgeous shades of magentas and purples that you can choose with those. I mean, the varieties of plants are endless, but just making that swap from a light, cool shade to a deeper, more saturated jewel tone will really set off your garden and make it more vibrant. Another thing you could do is add a lot of beautiful, deep, dark foliage that will contrast beautifully with these saturated perennials. Things like a dark foliage heuchera, or even dark colored shrubs. There's a new one coming out by Proven Winners called Red Zeppelin Calycanthus, and it is a deep reddish colored calycanthus, which normally that sweet shrub has green foliage, right? So that's really interesting. And the flowers are like a red orange. So even if you have a hot color palette, there are lots of beautiful shades of red that you can also add to your garden. Oranges and yellows, golden yellows. You can certainly find lots of beautiful jewel toned colors in coreopsis and daylilies. So jewel tone gardens, I can certainly see the appeal of them. They provide a level of sophistication and boldness to the garden. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot more jewel toned plants in the garden centers and nurseries this season. And if you think that jewel tones are bold, this next garden color trend turns it up even another notch. We're talking about Gothic gardens, dark, moody flowers. You might be familiar with moon gardens, where you have a beautiful variety of light white flowers in different shapes and textures, as well as silvery foliage. And these all together in the evening almost appear to be glowing, right? They have almost like this serene and magical look to them. Well, Gothic gardens are almost the complete opposite. They're going to have a more moody, kind of dark vibe to them. Dark as in the flowers or even the foliage, which is also a really bold look. Now, up until this point, there hasn't been a ton of black flowers out on the market, but over recent years, there's been some more developments. One that comes to mind is a pansy, which is an annual that I have grown for the last couple of years called Black Devil. It actually looks really beautiful paired with a filler that I put in the container, which is a white alyssum. They look really pretty together. It's actually a really striking pansy. A petunia is another flower that is an annual that has come in black, and I have seen quite a bit. Some other black flowers, or close to black, because when we're talking about black flowers, a lot of times they're a really deep purple or a very dark burgundy, right? But some other options are things like hollyhocks that come in that kind of colorway, as well as lilies. There's quite a few varieties of lilies that you can find in these really dark colors. I actually have an iris called black is black. That's a really deep velvety purple that looks black from afar. So there are some really pretty options. Now, when it comes to foliage plants, you can find some black or dark colored heucheras or coral bells. And there's also a shrub that I'm actually interested in adding to my garden this year called Durvilla Kodiak Black by Proven Winners that has a really deep foliage as well. Last summer, I actually added an eclipse hydrangea that has dark foliage and a rosy bloom. We'll see how that looks, but it's also another really pretty dark foliage shrub. Let me know what you think of the Gothic garden trend, and if you can think of any other really deep, dark looking flowers that we can maybe add to the list. Everyone has their own taste when it comes to color. Some prefer gardens that are cool colored, others like hot, fiery colors, and then there's cottage gardens that have a mix of both that are often really charming and layered. How you select and combine your color has a huge impact on the overall feel of your garden, whether it's calm and serene or bold and dramatic. At the end of the day, garden trends are just for inspiration. You don't have to redo your entire garden. You want to focus on creating a mood that feels good for you in your garden, and sticking to a specific color palette can make it easier when choosing plants. So let me know, of these 3 trends, is there any that speak to you, and is there something you might want to try in your own garden? Personally, I really like the jewel toned garden. I think those really bold, saturated flowers can make a statement in a garden. So let me know in the comments, and thank you so much for spending your time with me, and I'll catch you in the next one.